On this channel's Discord, link in the description, a couple subscribers have been pointing out that there is a big debate going on around SkillUp and Mortismal's reviews of Veilguard. That it has divided fan bases, or something like that. I was curious why, especially after playing the game myself. Also, I'll try to explain how I look at reviews and reviewers and what they should mean to the viewer. Big difference between their reviews and mine is that I did a first impression video or an early review, not a full game review. Fortunately, I haven't missed a thing by not playing through it, and glad I didn't do it, especially after their reviews. Reason is that the game is so bad I couldn't continue playing it. Some have said that I was exaggerating when saying that it's one of the worst RPGs ever made, but I'm not. You'll have a hard time naming worse RPGs, especially in AAA industry. Mediocre ones, no problem, but bad ones, it's much harder. There's a lot of shit in indie, but also so many indies are miles ahead of Veilguard. However, comparing a bad AAA with millions in budget to a bad indie game created in the basement with $10 in your pocket and the dream is not realistic. AA RPGs, especially CRPGs, are probably the best out there, with some mediocre ones but rarely a bad one, so comparing Veilguard to those would be even worse for poor BioWare. On Discord, subs have named Forspoken as the worst game, which as well might be. Haven't played it, so don't know. In my head I'm trying to remember, but then again my memory is truly bad. What would I name as a worst AAA RPG, but I can't remember a single one? Help me out with it a bit, would you? I'll still retain my stance that Veilguard is one of the worst because my 9 to 10 hour experience would have me rating the game at about 3 out of 10. Even few good things can't shine because those are drowned in the bad from the crap it is connected to. Have to say before we go further, thanks for the incredible support on my early review video. Most agreed with me to some extent, others don't think the game is that bad, and the minuscule minority was being stupid with comments, but that is to be expected. Not looking for people to agree with me in order to make me feel like I'm worth something. Thing is, I don't care about the viewers' feelings. I care about the viewers' time and potentially money spent that leads to betterment or retrogression of the gaming industry. Also care about constructive feedback and constructive criticism, which makes me better over time. Living is learning. I'm direct, know what I'm saying, and people get triggered easily because in most cases they have nothing productive to say in response but just to lash out. Just because you clicked on a video doesn't mean I have to suck up to you. Stay, don't, like, dislike, ignore your choices. We YouTubers mostly don't care about that. That's the hard truth barely any YouTuber will say to you, but will lie instead in every video to make you feel special. It's one of the problems of the narcissistic world we live in today, the woke agenda and this game's major problems being a result of it. In a review, I'll do my best to convince you of my findings so that you can make an educated decision on buying or not buying a game. I do care about your time potentially invested with the game of your choice, which should mean way more than babysitting feelings. Also can't tell you if any game is worth it to you. That is an entirely subjective concept. Also can't tell you if you're gonna like something or not. That is also entirely subjective. If you like something, doesn't mean it's good. If you don't like it, it doesn't mean it's bad. Do you now get the responsibility that a reviewer has if they care about your time and money invested? Only thing I care about in a game is the quality, which could mean that by my recommendation you'll invest time into something great that has, due to quality, more chances of you liking it. Nothing else, nothing more. Buying quality games means the industry is going in the right direction. And developers and publishers are going to be pushed to innovate, not to stagnate, play psychological marketing games, and creating repetitive dopamine hit adult products with the level of creativity of a blackjack game of cards. I understand that YouTubers can have a major influence on a gaming community, which is a responsibility on its own. By clicking on my review, I have the responsibility to tell you the truth accompanied by facts. Not my truth, but the truth. Sounds arrogant, right? After I explain, you see it's not. SkillUp downplayed the importance of his opinion compared to anyone else's. I can't agree with that, especially after watching his review. Whether he is truly that humble or just playing, his opinion is worth far more than the vast majority on this planet. He's got a big community, can influence the sales to a degree, and the most important thing, he is really good at what he does. I don't watch gaming channels, especially not reviews, because I don't want to have any outside influence on my own critical thinking process. My review is my review, coming only from my thoughts formed by careful observation and analysis, not influenced by expectations, politics, hype or hate. Such a neutral starting stance is not easy to achieve, especially in such a hype-oriented market. That's why I don't pay attention to news, trailers and such. Started watching trailers lately for Patreon and Subscribestar subs with occasional easily made video on the channel because sometimes don't have to wait weeks to put something up when in the process of reviewing a game. Thankfully any influence from trailers is lost on me, which is a new thing I've discovered. Last reviewer I watched that influenced me to start creating my own is Angry Joe 5 years ago. Don't know how good his reviews are now, but his honesty was refreshing. No coddling balls. So to watch reviews again in order to be able to make a video like this means I'll see the world of new popular reviewers like SkillUp and Mortismal. Really not looking for any drama whatsoever, but I'm a curious person that cares about the gaming industry, which makes it hard to sit on the sidelines when communities are being influenced by different opinions. Some that make sense and others that don't. That's the big difference of everyone when watching reviews and listening to something they don't agree with. Well, it's just your opinion. Yeah, but I've backed my opinion with facts and you've typed a comment that has no value to anyone but yourself. Nothing said in it truly. So my and your opinion are not even the same stratosphere when comparing the value. Obviously this goes for lash out commenters and not people with constructive feedback and criticism that have the ability and patience to describe well their standpoint. Opinion is formed from an experience of what an observer sees and feels. And what an observer sees is the same thing everyone else is seeing, but experiences are different because of emotions and preferences. We are all seeing the same thing, but not many can analyze what is actually being seen, because the subjectiveness starts to take point in manufacturing the experience. By buying a product you already have some sort of emotional attachment that can cloud the judgment. Not saying that is happening for everyone, but for a lot it does. I get it, you spend the money and are going to try to get the most out of it. By someone saying you've spent the money wrong because there is very little to get from it can make anyone emotional in response. Perfectly acceptable. Thing is, being emotional doesn't make you right, you're just emotional, if you can't provide detailed facts that can be objectively measured. This is where reviewers should do their job and make reviews based on the higher quality opinion compared to most, and not to cater to publishers, agendas and viewers, simply because they can do it and have the responsibility to educate you on the money you have the option to spend. That money is gonna go towards the betterment or retrogression of the gaming industry. By supporting bad products, more bad games are going to be made with low effort and creativity. By supporting good products, better products are going to be made in order to stay competitive. I want the gaming industry to produce as many fantastic games as possible, don't you? I understand that this sounds harsh a bit, but it's necessary. Looking for reviews to make you feel good about the game you're playing, or watching feel-good reviews, is as useful as a band-aid on a chopped off arm. Hope you understand now where I'm coming from. So I've decided to see for myself by what reviews gamers are influenced when it comes to Veilguard, with SkillUp and Mortismal being in the mix here. Note that I've only watched one review from each and have no idea how good they usually are. I'm only assessing their Veilguard reviews. SkillUp did a wonderful job in analyzing the game. There is nothing to disagree from a viewer's standpoint if you know what you're playing. He precisely showcased everything wrong with the game, gave you tons of proof too. One thing I really liked that told me he knows how to analyze things is when talking about combat. Analyzing writing in Veilguard is easy, 1 out of 10 or maybe 2 out of 10. It's a consensus more or less. Seeing through the shiny combat presentation, which in all honesty is nothing special, visual effects overflowing screen and crazy speed is a different thing altogether. Combat in Veilguard is below average. You may like it, but it's not even mediocre. SkillUp pointed out the same things as I did. Terribly designed enemies that have only a few attacks, abilities that make no sense, clunkiness at times, terrible difficulty design, spongy enemies that increase repetition. Probably missed some, but he did mention a lot of stuff, and he is right. Good things about the combat and character progression are drowned in bad stuff, unfortunately. There's very little to the combat overall. Its speed and visual effects are there to mask the bad stuff so the player doesn't notice it. About the writing, he said like HR is present in the room when any dialogue is occurring. That is a brilliant sentence that explains problems perfectly. Great point was also about how the choice doesn't represent in its entirety what he said afterwards. They just neutered it all even more. If SkillUp's review of Veilguard is representative of his other reviews, then I can't recommend his channel enough. This is the type of reviewer you need to hear. He knows his stuff. Better than the vast majority of people. Better than me, as he caught some things I missed, but he did play through the full game, so had more experience with it. The poor bastard. Now we go to Mortismal's review. He says it's one of his games of the year, but to be fair, he also said that this year is quite weak in terms of games. I would disagree a bit. Space Marines 2, Black Myth Wukong, Shadow of the Earth 3 for AAA industry is a decent year, not bad or good. AA and indies had their own successes with Tactical Breach Wizards called Void Shadows Rogue Trader expansion. Again, not bad, not great. Mort said first something about combat that it's a change towards the more action-oriented style and that it isn't for everybody. There isn't a combat system that's for everybody in any RPG, but I get what he wanted to say, it's a change. Problem is that if this combat style is labeled as action, then I don't know if that is better for Veilguard or worse. I love action in combat, but for action combat it is subpar. Same reasons I've mentioned already. This can't be ignored because it is in your face the whole time. He hasn't noticed many problems or just skipped over them while saying the combat is great. What exactly is great about it is the question that I couldn't find an answer to in the video. It was mostly just overviewing mechanics, but the problem is that these mechanics are so basic that they are not positive by any means. Some cool stuff is there, like impact on shield hits, knocking down enemies and jumping down on them for critical hits, but it isn't enough. Enemies are terribly designed, most have 2 attacks in their arsenal and the combat looks more like an ability simulator on dummies. Copy-paste enemies. Setup encounters are weak by being devoid of diverse challenges. Combat is not bad, it's just not good enough to be even called mediocre. He said that he enjoyed exploration, but the problem is that locations, no matter how some of them look good, have such bad level design with scattered resources and linear maps with few chests on the side here and there and bunch of non-rewarding items to pick up that just stack. Here's a plum that's gonna increase reputation with the faction times 10. Then he mentioned the side quests that were really good, but how can that be when writing is so bad across the board? Hard to believe. I haven't seen a single side quest in the first 10 hours. Not saying they are necessary, but hard to believe they could have a good story behind them considering that nothing in my 10 hours had good writing in it. Did they leave it all for the side quests? Mort loves the lore of Dragon Age, and that is alright. That means little things are gonna be appreciated even in their insignificance. I tried reading notes for the first couple hours but gave up quickly because of the same problem that plagues the whole game. Uninteresting and bland. Of course, if you absolutely love the lore, every little bit might seem more interesting than it already is. Mort talked a lot about companions. Unfortunately, companions suffer from the same problem as the whole game. Again, bad writing. They never shine in any of the conversations. Maybe because dialogue writing is so restrictive that they simply can't. Voice acting for the few I found is mediocre too. Nev especially. I do like that he pointed out how he doesn't like romancing in games and think of it as a pointless thing. Thank you, mate. Finally someone couldn't agree more. Art style is something he doesn't object to, and I can understand him there. Reason is that art style preferences in the end are just a preference. They went with more of a Disney style than adult style. I don't like it because such an art style cannot be accompanied by blood and gore. Without blood and gore, combat loses immersion. Simple as that. However, not everyone needs to want blood and gore, even though it can be a big positive factor when done right. What bothered me most about the art style is a mishmash for the purpose of adding objects and effects from a different reality that mostly hurt the aesthetics of the existing reality. Don't know, it looked childish and hasn't created any connection with me. Instead, it made the counter effect, but as I said, art style preference is quite subjective. It's weird how Mort has never touched on the writing and the problems with it. Maybe he forgot to add that. I know I forget sometimes to add bits and pieces, but awful writing is really hard to miss. Same as I don't know about SkillUp's other reviews, I don't know about Mort's other reviews. He exploded on the scene. Based on this review, I have to ask why. I'm sure his other reviews are much better, they have to be. This to me reads more like a feel-good overview but not wanting to say anything negative in case someone gets offended. A review where a lot is said but very little has truly been said. Some have accused him of being paid. I seriously doubt that he was paid. His channel is doing exceptionally well, and taking money that could one day ruin him if it's out in the open is just not worth it. There is a much more important factor that could mean something though. Reviewers live or die by early review codes. It's something I've been trying to get for years for big games. Once you lose the affiliation with the publisher, you've hurt your business. Having a review ready on the release date means a huge deal. It might affect the severity of the reviewer's opinion. Not saying that's the case with Mort. No one knows that but him. I just know how important the early codes are. Problem is that people jump to conclusions too much nowadays and take sides. Think for yourself and read between the lines. Have more than one source of information. Stop being offended and emotional about every little thing by starting thinking instantly that someone is paid, or even if they were offered that option that they took it. Some would, don't get me wrong, but a channel like Mortismal Gaming I highly doubt. Also, don't think that someone like SkillUp hates the game for some reason and that's why he didn't recommend it. Hate has nothing to do with it. I hate Diablo 4, but it's still a far better game than Dragon Age Veilguard, which I don't hate at all. Stop assigning arbitrary things to reviews to justify our own inability to deal with a review of the game you bought or hate for some reason. You didn't make the game, who cares? Yeah, you might feel like a fool for buying a game like this, but we've all been there, not the end of the world. Swallow the pride and deal with it. Same for people hating the game without even playing it. Chill and remember that a reviewer liking the game doesn't mean that the game is actually good. This is a type of video that has never crossed my mind to make before. I don't tread on other people's territory, but this was an interesting instance in gaming and YouTube world that made me curious. Also, after 5 years or so, I watched the gaming reviews again and I've learned some things. They both have much better editing than I do. Really need to start working on that more. Mortismal has extremely enjoyable reviews because of his gentle approach with a great voice. SkillUp, while also having a great voice, is more analytical from this one review comparison. He sees more things. To each their own. Both are wildly successful for a reason, and this one review comparison is not nearly enough data to draw from to make final conclusions about either of them. Anyway, thanks for watching, that's all.